Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would go into a little bit of detail today again, and this gets covered quite a bit in my actual training footage, but it's something that comes up because people are like, oh my god, Jason, you're using straps and you tell people they shouldn't use straps and all of this. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, I tell the majority of people you probably do not ever need straps for your training. They have limited applications for strength athletes, but most people really shouldn't be using them who are seeking overall development. And yeah, I'm using them because I'm personally falling into a specific niche of training, and I want to discuss that a little bit of where straps and even training double overhand sometimes could be potentially useful to you. And I think it's important for us to differentiate this, because as someone myself who generally thinks most people shouldn't use straps, if they see me using straps for something, they're going to assume my stance changes. And that's what people have to understand with different parts of our journey. Don't assume that because someone, maybe even who's writing programs for you, or your coach even, is doing something in their training that it's appropriate for you. Because again, people need to understand some things that we do are part of a specialized niche for where we are at specifically with our training. And for the majority of people, if you're not going to use hook grip, and let's say you're going to do mixed grip on your deadlift, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you might not ever need to even own a set of straps. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward. Your mixed grip is handling all your grip training on the deadlift. Now, people will talk about imbalances and say, well, Jason, didn't you have imbalances? Well, my imbalances are multifold in nature. If you simply switch your mixed grip every other rep or every other set, you don't develop muscle imbalances. Why would you? That doesn't even make sense, right? If you're worried about any muscle imbalances from mixed grip, don't use what happened to me as evidence, because mine is very skewed. There's two reasons my DEXA scan showed a big imbalance. Number one, I have an old bicep injury, and if you guys notice my DEXA scan, what happened? I had 1.5 pounds less muscle in my left arm than my right, and that's due to actual permanent tissue loss in my bicep. Like, I had a piece of meat. I saw that piece of meat taken out by the doctor. All right, it was a piece of meat removed from my bicep at a certain point, and I have less tissue in there. I have less muscle fibers. So accordingly, on all of my pulling exercises, my chin-ups, my rows, everything else, my left lat and everything is probably compensating a little more to pull the same weight. Now, a lot of people would say, well, you know, can you just use dumbbells for that? No, because if I'm doing a 150-pound dumbbell with my left hand and my right both, I'm going to still have a weaker bicep in theory, and I'm still going to have more lat and trap involved, right? That's not going to fix it either. That's part of the problem, is that the various pulling exercises have contributed to that imbalance, because it was pretty big on the DEXA scan. I have 5.5 pounds more muscle on my left side of my torso than my right. That's a lot. And that's my weaker side. So that's what happened partially. And then my mixed grip, because I have that old injury, I always did the exact same mixed grip to avoid tearing that again. So my mixed grip personally was always the exact same for years and years and years. I have not pulled with a supinated left arm since 2004. All right. So from that perspective, yeah, there's obviously two different factors causing a muscle imbalance. For people who are worried about a muscle imbalance, just alternate on the mixed grip. And you should never need straps for anything else. I mean, maybe if you're going to do power shrugs. But people say, what about block pulls and rack pulls? Well, block pulls and rack pulls for people who aren't jackasses are there to be grip trainers. That's the only reason you would ever do them, is to train your grip, right? Well, if you're training your grip, why would you use straps? So power shrugs is basically the only reason most of you might want straps, right? Really heavy shrugs. Or maybe high volume Romanian deadlifts or something. But it should never be used on rows, pull-ups, chin-ups, lat pull-downs. There's no reason your grip should be that weak ever. If it is, and you probably have really tiny forearms and everything else. You're disproportionate already. You need to fix that and get rid of those straps. You should never be strapping up for rows or anything like that. Learn to do this lift correctly. So when you look at it from that perspective, most people aren't going to need them. Now, people say, well, What if I don't want to do mixed grip because I don't want to tear a bicep? And you're not going to bother to learn hook grip, and you're not going to compete in a strength sport, I guess, but your training is going to get more complex, because I'm going to tell you at that point, you probably do need to train some double overhand, because if you're going to use straps for your deadlifts, you're going to probably want to do double overhand also, just to develop some grip, right? Just to develop some actual grip strength. Probably be a real good idea. Which kind of comes to the point of what I'm doing right now with hook grip. Okay, hook grip is because I have historically been a competitive strength athlete. I wouldn't rule out me doing that again, and I want my lifts to be legit in general, even the ones I do on camera eventually. All right, I don't want things that wouldn't pass in meet being compared to other people. Just like if you send me a lift saying, this guy, I think he benches more than you, and his stuff's not meet legal, I don't accept that. Why would I? That's absurd. No one should accept that. So, yeah, I want everything to be legitimate lifts. And so, yes, I'm training the hook grip so that I don't tear a bicep again. Well, the problem you run into with hook grip is, of course, as Caller Woolham even points out, and people are like, well, he uses straps too. Yeah, he does use straps even on his ramp-ups, and he'll do one heavy set with his hook grip at the end, or two, because hook grip tends to tear skin on your thumbs. It wears your thumbs out, right? It's not even an issue of toughening up your thumbs. That is a factor. That's one thing I'm going through still, and it's going to take months and months. But even when you've been doing it for years, you can only pull so many heavy reps with hook grip before you start literally shredding the skin off your thumbs. And trust me, once you start shredding skin off your thumbs, you're not pulling anything hook grip, all right? It's not only excruciatingly painful, the blood will be slippery, and it's going to slip out of your hand, right? Chalk won't stop you from bleeding all over the bar and making it slippery, and it's slipping anyways. So even if you had an enormous pain threshold, it's still not going to work. So you can only pull so many reps with the hook grip. So your only options at that point, if you still want to pull heavier, to go ahead and do some mixed grip. Well, if you don't want bicep tears and have a history of them like I do, that's a problem. But people need to keep in mind, if you're not really strong, I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, if your goals are a sub 600 pound deadlift is your lifetime goal, this is not stuff you need to be particularly worried about. If you just learn to pull correctly, you're probably not going to tear a bicep on mixed grip. If you're setting pretty serious goals, it's a little bit different. But in that case, what I'm having to do, yeah, I'm alternating, because I'm deadlifting up to 6 days a week. So 3 times a week, I pull the last couple singles with hook grip. And then the other days, I'm doing straps, because I can pull heavier, because I can't pull the same weights with a hook grip yet. I'm having to build my thumbs up. And even if I could, I'd still want to do some of them with straps to save my thumbs and get some pulling in. And then for additional grip work and extra technique training, double overhand deadlifts, right? Double overhand, because that's the hardest. That's the most difficult to grip. And anyone who says, well, I don't think that's true, yeah, it is. If you're finding that you can do really heavy weights with a double overhand grip, you're probably using a really cheap bar that's been bent already or something like that. Believe me, guys, when you're using a good bar, it's very difficult, and it is good grip training, because you have to squeeze the bar super tight just to keep it from rolling. You're not going to be anywhere near what you can deadlift with a mixed grip, with hook grip, with straps, anything else, double overhand. So that's also good grip training as well. So what I would tell people, if you do want to deadlift with a hook grip, using both a combination of straps and double overhand would probably behoove you. Now, here's the problem we run into. Your training becomes more complex. The moment you start introducing these other things, like the moment you say, hey, I'm going to start doing straps instead of the mixed grip, your training has to become more complex. You're not going to follow a standard program anymore for the deadlift, because you're going to have to do extra grip training if you're pulling with straps for any reason. And the same thing, if you're alternating straps and double overhand, obviously you're going to have to program differently. You're going to end up doing more sets of deadlift just for the extra grip work, most likely, or whatever other grip training you're doing. So it adds an extra degree of complexity. And it's the same thing when we introduce hook grip. It's the exact same thing. When you introduce hook grip, your training is going to have to become a little more complex as far as your deadlifting programming goes, unless you're someone who started with hook grip from day one and totally built it up in proportion to your deadlift strength as you went early on as a beginner, which is why I tell people beginners should probably learn the hook grip be a good idea. It'll give you a lot of options later. Then yeah, your training is going to have to be a little more complex. So it's not like there's a free lunch here. The simplest method is always just to do mixed grip. But ultimately, as we've learned over the years, mixed grip has its shortcomings in the long term. But it does give you the least complex training programming. Again, because now for me, it has to be a little more complex because I'm doing 3 different types of things on the deadlift. I'm doing hook grip, I'm doing double overhand and straps every single week. So it does become more complicated. So there's no free lunch there. There's some extra stuff that has to be done to make it work. And that's where the straps become useful. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.